Hello everyone, thanks for choosing to watch this channel for the CompTIA Security Plus exam preparation. And I have been saying in the last two videos also, and this is the third one in the series. If you want to pass the CompTIA Security Plus exam, this is where you should be, and this is the only place where it should be, because there's so much stuff available on YouTube, and I think most of it might end up confusing you, and needs a lot of listening, a lot of dedication in making sure that you understand every piece of information that is out there. But let me tell you, if you want to just pass the examination in your very first attempt or go, this is the place to be at. So without further wasting the time, so let's go to the topic, which is third in the series. As I said, I have already published two videos, and this is a V3, which is video third. And here we are talking about the change management process. What's change management? So anything which has changed, where there is a change has been implemented. For example, let's say, after the COVID, before COVID, we used to use desktops within our organization, and post COVID everyone was given a laptop. So giving laptop was good, but then this is a change. As you see, this is a change, and it's not easy to give laptop to people, because you need to make sure that since they're carrying this system home, your data is protected. They're using it the way they're supposed to use. They are not accessing each and every site. They don't have, in fact, access to each and every site. They're following all the security protocols. They are also following the policies and procedures as laid down by the managerial security control, which includes your CISO, BISO, and your platinum, gold, and gold, silver, and bronze teams, and so many protocols basically they're following. And it is not easy. This was a change from desktop to laptop. Not that the laptop was not being used before that, but not that all were using it. So it was given to some of the people, and most of the people were not given it, especially if the team is the operations team. It was given to technology in most cases, but not to everyone, and especially the operations one. Now you see, that's a change, right? That's a change. This is one type of change. There is another type of change, the change that we are going through right now, which is a change of AI. So we are replacing a lot of resources, people, and getting the AI technology to work as kind of human resource, like what humans used to do. So we make AI to do that. We are also changing some of the applications, like from the governance, risk, and compliance point of view. Like, for example, if you're using an application like Archer, GRC Archer, so now we have maybe an AI application taking over, so that's a change. So SAP LeanIX, so again, a line of sight, what we call. So again, if that is being replaced with something in the market, like kind of a Wise or Trust type of application, so that's a change. So it's not easy. It takes a lot of effort. There's a lot of effort which has gone into bringing that change and implementing that change successfully. It is not an easy task. It requires a lot of planning. It requires a lot of dedication. It requires a lot of A, B, C, D things. Like you just want to make sure that the change you're implementing, it is a successful one and without any issues. And if there are any issues, so what is the kind of backup plan? So yeah, that's all about the change management in a nutshell, and that's what it is talking here about the change management process. So the change management process plays an essential role in ensuring that any modifications made to systems, applications, or procedures are conducted in a structured, secure, and efficient manner. Here is why these processes are critical and how they impact security. business processes impacting security operations, right? So approval process. So any change, it needs an approval. There has to be someone who has to approve this. Let's say, for example, there's a change in the compensation, then the HR head, or probably the top, the board of directors, and or maybe the CEO of the company has to approve it. So let's assume they are the approving authority, so they have to approve it. So ensure that only vetted and necessary changes get implemented, reducing the risk of introducing vulnerabilities. So if we are changing something, we are going for application X to application Y, we also need to make sure that this change is taking place without introducing new vulnerabilities in the system, which may end up being very costly for the organization. So approval process is pretty important. Ownership. So about this change, so every change has an owner. So there is someone who is owning this change within their business, within their domain, department, team, etc. So designating an owner ensures accountability. So why do we need an owner? Because it means accountability. So he's accountable for this change, and responsibility of the change, entrusts on him or her, ensuring it is implemented correctly and securely. So someone has to be an owner there. Someone has to be an owner there who takes the accountability, who takes the responsibility of bringing that change quite efficiently, without something going wrong, or probably something not being followed what needs to be followed when you have a change management process taking place, right? Stakeholders. So engaging stakeholders ensures that all parties affected by the change are informed and can provide valuable feedback, reducing potential security gaps. Let's assume you're bringing any automation. So there are so many stakeholders, parties which are associated with that process wherein you're bringing that automation. So before you bring that automation, you always need to take stakeholders on board, right? You need to just discuss this thing with them, what is the change and how it is going to impact, because your stakeholders are the right people who might raise few of the valid concerns, valid questions, and even if the change is implemented, they are the ones who can come back and give you the feedback. Say for example, you are selling an insurance and you have a new application, suddenly sales application. Now it's your agents and customers which are which are the people who will give you the feedback. But before that, even if it is internally, it should be internally tested, so you will get an internal feedback as well. So all these form stakeholders, whether that this is an internal customer, it's an agent or agency, or is it the end customer, they're all stakeholders. Impact analysis, analyzing the impact. So obviously every change has an impact, whether positive or not so positive, that is to be discussed, but it has an impact. That's the important point. That's a key point. Evaluating the potential consequences of a change can reveal potential security risks and areas of vulnerability. As I said, you replace one application by another. You may think initially you may think it's great, but then later on you come to know then it's vulnerable. It has produced that surface area to threat actors, attackers, and so that impact analysis needs to be studied. It needs to be studied in detail so that we are not caught up in such a situation wherein it becomes a breeding ground for the threat actors. So impact analysis is very, very important. Test results, obviously, as I mentioned a while ago, any application, any change needs always to be tested. So test results are pretty important and they need to be encouraging. Only if they are encouraging will the change be implemented, and if they are not encouraging, I don't think there's any point implementing that particular change, as it is going to create cause or chaos by implementing such a change. Backout plan. Now the point is, if the change introduced does not work, or it gets stuck in some unforeseen vulnerabilities, problems, there are issues, it's not working, then you should always be able to revert back the change to the older one. So that is what we called as backout plan. Okay, maintenance window. Obviously the word says that designating specific times for changes reduces disruptions and ensures that resources are available should issues arise. So designating specific times. So maintenance window is like designating specific times for changes, reducing disruption. So this week I'm introducing a change, and I already sent an email to the stakeholder saying that, you know, this application from this on this day from this time to this time would not be available, since we are bringing a change. We are having a new update, or probably a new application replacing the older one. So we call that as a maintenance window. All right, so that's a maintenance window. So all right, standard operating procedure, SOP also we called. Adhering to established protocols ensures consistency, predictability, and security in the change process. So standard operating procedures. So any change, any process is first written. I mean, we have an SOP written for that. Like if the change is, now we have a change, now what needs to be done, in terms of how do you log in, what do you do, and all that stuff. So which, we may end up cover in a flow chart, or probably in an algorithm, or etc. So we need to follow that standard operating procedure, so that we are not caught up in the middle of nowhere. So that is about standard operating procedures, which we also called as SOPs. This was the first one. So all right, so next one is about technical implications. Okay, let's talk about the technical implications for the change management. Right, allow list and deny lists. Changes might require updating lists that determine which activities or entities are permitted or prohibited, directly affecting security postures. Now there are certain applications that before change, say John had access to few of the things there, but after the change was implemented, now it's important that we give access. We rework the allow and deny list. Is basically allowing John to access few of the applications, or a few of the sites, or anything what is important for his work, and deny others wherein he has no role to play. So that's what we called as allow list and deny lists. Allowing access to certain websites and denying access to certain websites is one example. Similarly, like now share folder, your files, folders, applications, websites, you just name it, right? Depends. All right, so then restricted activities. So the activities which are basically restricted, like some changes might limit certain operations, right? So for example, if we do an automation. When it's automation, you don't do the things the way it was done before. So automatically some of the activities that you're not performing anymore. Probably an AI tool has come instead of an older tool. So AI does a lot of things at its own. So there are so many things that now you don't do that. So you are restricted from doing such activities, and it depends on scenario to scenario base, case to case base. And you can, within your organization, you can think a lot of such stuff wherein there are restricted areas, restricted activities for you. For example, changing time on your machine, it's not allowed for everyone. I know that I wasn't allowed a few organizations, but then I was allowed on few other organizations. So that's restricted. So some changes might limit certain operations, potentially impacting business operations or security monitoring. Downtime. What's downtime? Downtime is unplanned or extended downtime can expose business to risks. Unplanned are extended downtime. So downtime wherein the systems are not working, if it is unplanned or it is extended, can expose business to a lot of risks, especially if security measures are down. Like that's important. If you're making a change, there is change management, and then we have downtime suddenly, it can pose a significant risk to our business. That is very, very important. That's why the downtime also needs to be limited. It can't go just unabated, like you're scheduled it for a day or probably like 12 hours, then it is still there for 24 hours or 72 hours or whatever. Service restart. Restarting services can introduce vulnerabilities if not done securely. Again, SOPs come into place. Like service has to restart. You stopped a service, now you want to restart a sales application, has gone through upgrade, has gone through change, you stopped that application for some time, now you're restarting that application, but then this restart can introduce new vulnerabilities if it is not done securely. So all the secure measures needs to be taken into consideration before restarting the service to ensure that vulnerabilities are kept at bay. At least those vulnerabilities which can be quite bad for our business. Then we have application restart. So that was a service restart. This is an application restart. Similar to services, application restart needs to be done securely to avoid potential exposure. So here the application that we have rebuilt, probably we have replaced a new older application with a new application altogether. So then the same logic goes here, that we need to ensure that all secure measures are taken. And let me tell you all, guys, any change, it's not that one day someone got up from his sleep, from his bed, and then they have planned the change. No, there's a huge planning goes into it. They plan it, they do it, they check and they act. It's like the plan, do, check, act. So it's a proper project management. It goes through a proper project. There are almost 10-12 steps that it goes through, that you plan the project, you take stakeholders into consideration while making sure that this change is done, and then you find the resources of implementing that change, then you go for the change, then you test the change, then you seek the feedback, then you remove any problems with the change, then you finally end up then initial stage also and later stage also, you take approvals, and finally you go and implement the change. And while implementing the change, all the relevant parties are involved, which includes your IT team, which includes your security team, which includes all other teams and the top leadership, and we have all approvals in place. It's not that you suddenly one day thought of the change and you brought the change in. It's as simple as that. It's as good as like a new person being hired. Like there's an interview, there's a second round, there's a third round, then there is document verification, and then so many other things, and before he finally joins, the offer letter is, or the appointment letter is issued, and he joins the company. So there are so many things to it. It's not that easy. So similarly, similar kind of thought process goes in any change management, and so is the service restart or the application restart. Legacy applications. So legacy application means the older software, the applications that you have been kind of using for a long time, like like a legend application. Legacy, you can also call it a legend application, because that's what you have been using for like from last 10, 20, 30 years kind of. So older software might not be compatible with the new changes and can have unresolved vulnerabilities. So if you're trying to put some new updates in the older application, let's assume I'm still using Windows 8 or Windows, I'm still using Windows 7 or Windows 8. Do you think I will be able to I can still, that kind of old laptop I'm using, you are probably, I'm using Windows 98. You think still, that kind of laptop I can install Windows 11? Answer is no, right? So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So that's why you need to, keep, you need to make sure that, these things, are well taken care of. Then dependencies. Changes can affect dependent systems or applications, potentially creating security gaps, right? So if there is a change somewhere, and there are some other changes or some other applications, services depend on them, so it can create a impact there. So let's example Archer you using for the governance, risk and compliance. So let's you thought for threat hunting, threat management, you have made some changes, but then the same tool is also used for penetration testing, it's also used for BCM, it's also used for so many other issues. You never know. I mean, it can create a problem there. I mean, you're trying to address something within threat management, but then you are ending up creating a problem somewhere else. So you need to study that. You need to study that, and that's why it's important. And that's why I said it's not that easy. Implementing change is not easy. It needs a detailed plan. It needs a detailed plan. Everyone needs to be on board. It can't be a baby of one person. It has to be a baby of lot many people in that way. Not in the wrong sense, but in the right sense. Then documentation, important one. So any change that you planned, you thought, important point to be noted is documentation. Any change goes, any change can't go without a proper documentation, because that's what becomes the Bible, becomes the guiding principle when implementing such changes. Updating diagrams ensures that teams have the latest view of system architecture, helping to spot potential vulnerabilities. So system architecture, so as you know, you can always Google and find how the architecture looks like. Say, I mean, in simple language, see for example, I have computer, my computer is connected to the Wi-Fi. So right, so I'm the user of my probably there's it's I'm using cloud services, it's also kind of connected to the cloud. So it becomes an architecture. Similarly, if you look at the organization, so many systems through WAN, LAN, so they are related to your network servers. There is ports are there, segmentation, network segmentation is there, jumpers are there, you name it. I mean, it gets complicated with the bigger organizations or with the complicated organizations as well, where the work is important and they use a lot of technology. So architecture is important. So we need to make sure that our up-to-date architecture is reflecting within our documentation. That's what it says. Updating diagrams. Updating policies and procedures, keeping protocols current, ensuring that the organization operates securely, right? Keeping protocols current and ensures that the organization operates securely under the latest changes. So that's why updating policies and procedures is pretty important. Version control. So any change has to have a version control. That's a standard requirement of a proper documentation. So if you talk about documentation, version control is one of the things that you need to maintain, right? Ensuring changes are versioned allows teams to track which modifications were made and when. So version control wise, so it allows the teams to track which modifications were made and when it was made. So anytime there is a change, so it is noted down in the version control document. This is critical not only for debugging but also for security forensics and understanding potential vulnerabilities. Very important. In summary, so let's summarize this. The importance of change management processes in security lies in their ability to provide structured and controlled environments for making modifications. Without these processes, organizations run the risk of introducing vulnerabilities, causing disruptions, or failing to adhere to security best practices. Proper change management not only helps in maintaining the system's security, but also ensures smooth business operations, accountability and traceability. Very, very important that, change management. So this sums up the change management kind of. So this is what we read about how change management is planned, or what is importance of owners, approval process, stakeholders, impact analysis, test results, backout plan, what is maintenance window, what is operating procedure, standard operating procedure. Then from the technical implications, what is allow list and deny list, what is restricted activities, what is downtime, what's downtime, unplanned and extended, how can it pose threats, then services restart, application restart, legacy applications, how they are important, the new vulnerabilities which can come into picture, or dependencies, dependent applications wherein you have made the change. Then what's the importance of documentation, about having documentation around the new architecture, updating policies and procedures, and then version control document. So this sums up the change management. I hope you enjoyed this session. So this is it for the this video V3. So we'll come back and get to the video 4, which is basically explaining the importance of using appropriate cryptographic solutions. So cryptographic solutions is one of the important topics that we are going to cover, and you will find a lot of questions in the exam from this topic. So see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.